are struggling with any type of depression or anxiety or feelings of, worthlessness, like please don't believe that lie. You are so valuable, and I'm going to do a video to talk about that, but if you need to talk to someone, please comment below. I have a small channel. I will certainly reply. I don't know how much help I can be, but sometimes we just need to get it out. So please talk to me, talk to somebody, anybody. Find someone that you trust and can confide in, and sometimes just putting words to those emotions that we feel helps us to understand better what's really going on, and then we can tackle that and combat it. So please do that. Don't give up. There's always hope. I'm going to share a link to some websites and different things. If you want to call somebody, there are people out there that care about you as a human being, even though they don't know you. I'm one of them. But there are hotlines, there are websites that you can go to if you need some help. So please don't give up hope. Fighting. Okay. Anyway, I also have a video to share of a Christian apologist, which is basically a person who argues the faith. That's what apologetics is. So this man struggled in his teenage years, and he attempted suicide. He lived and became a Christian, and he discusses the issues that led to that point. So I'm going to share the clip of that interview, a few clips of that interview where he talks about his struggles with that and like the pressures of society and different things like that. So you're not alone in your struggles, and there is hope. Things will get better. Everybody has hard times. Sometimes life sucks, but you are loved and you are valuable. So don't give up. Okay. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that for now. And yeah, please, I'll do some discussion videos, like actual, I want to talk about it. I want to know your opinion about some of these things. Everybody, depending on your culture, you have a different perspective, a worldview based on like how you're raised and like your surroundings and your experiences. So, me growing up the way that I did, and like in my culture, in my society, in my household, with my family's expectations, with expectations I have for myself, all of that, I have an opinion about certain things, but I'm not in the culture that you're in. So I'd love to have a discussion about what you guys think about these things. So yeah, please stay tuned. I will have some guests come on. We'll talk about some issues, identity, self-image, purpose, hope, all of those things that I think are prevalent in the K-pop industry, but also with us. So look forward to the content. Huh? Maybe. Let's talk about it. Okay. I am now going to go eat lunch with my grandmother. Bye.
But I never really thought seriously about religious things. Why? I was immersed in the struggle to perform academically. India is a very competitive culture in academics. If you don't make it in your studies, you're going to go nowhere. So the pressure is on you from every side.
Big time, the pressure is on students there.
Yeah, and not just enough to pass. It had to be high. You had to be right at the top of the list. And I wasn't going to make it. Cricket was in my blood. I played cricket and tennis. I loved the sports field, hated the academic side of it, and ultimately it got me into serious trouble with my father. I wasn't going to make it, and that confusion of pursuit and the need for acceptance. Another thing about India is it's a shame-oriented culture. If you don't do that well, then you're shamed into trying to be successful. The highest rate of suicides in India is immediately after the examination results are posted in the newspapers. All over the country, kids are jumping off buildings, pouring kerosene on themselves and burning themselves. My closest friend did this to himself. So that was really the culture within which I was born and raised and struggled. My brothers and sisters were all doing well. I wasn't. I was sort of the failure of the family, and that finally got to me. And in the search for answers, I just ended up with none whatsoever. And the emptiness, the loneliness, and the failure in school, I didn't have a single Christian friend, by the way. They were all, majority of them from the Hindu worldview, which places such great value and respect for family and all of that. So that's the way I was raised. But the emptiness came in with no answers, only questions. Tradition, tradition, tradition. You followed it. I knew this was not going to get me anywhere, and finally I attempted to take my own life.
Yeah, talk about that. How did you do that?
Well, you know, for many years I couldn't, John, to be honest with you. As long as my dad and mom were alive, it was very embarrassing for them, till my father in his latter years, point blank, asked my wife to talk about it and then asked me. It's again the shame thing, you know, nobody wants to admit how low they had become in life. I just want to assure the listener it had nothing to do with any psychological debilitation, no such issues with drugs or whatever like that. It was just a search for meaning. I wanted to put life together, and it wasn't coming together for me. So I was going to my classes in college and went into the science lab out there, saw some chemicals, took these plastic bags. I didn't even know what all they said, except I took the ones that was marked poison, brought it back to my home, put it in a glass of water early one morning. Everybody was out of the house. Went into the restroom and just it started to froth immediately, effervesce. So I just stirred it with a teaspoon and gulped the thing down. I used to tell my story in the early days by saying, unfortunately, but a doctor corrected me once. He said, you better say fortunately. It was very salty, and my system began to reject it. And there I was holding on to the sink as the moisture was coming out of my body. I collapsed on my knees. I shouted for help. The servant in the house heard me screaming. Nobody else was there. He came. I don't know whether he broke the door down, pushed it down. I don't remember exactly, but he saw me in that pitiful state, put me into a taxi and rushed me to a hospital. And when I was fully composed of my senses again, all I knew was needles were in my arm because of the dehydration, my mother and father by my side, and the ultimate desolation of knowing you didn't even know how to live, now you didn't know how to die. That was the crossing road moment for me in asking questions more seriously than I had been asking.
But a man came into your room and did what?
Well, this is the amazing thing to me. That's why I believe in sort of divine appointments. I wasn't looking for anybody to come. In fact, I still don't know how they let him get past that much, probably because he said he was a minister. And he brought a little red New Testament and wanted to read it to me. And my mother said he couldn't. I was in critical condition. So he opened it to the 14th chapter of John. And ironically, it's Jesus talking to Thomas, the first person who ever went to India with the gospel. And he was reaching the Nambudhiris, by the way, my very ancestors from centuries ago. And in that 14th chapter of John, as Jesus was saying, because I live, you shall live also, I grasped onto that verse and said, Jesus, if you are offering me life like I have never had it, I want that life from you. That was the turning point for me. I never really prayed any meaningful prayer. And I invited Jesus Christ, the author of life, to give me the life that he alone could give. Aged 17. And the Bible handed over to my mother. I couldn't hold it because as I said, the dehydration had set in. So my mother, in her heavy accent, reading this to me, I prayed the prayer. And that was the beginning of a journey that has now continued with utter delight and perpetual novelty. Yes, twists and turns and ups and downs, but when you have the map of God in your own heart, you walk with Him hand in hand.